Hey guys, what's up? So, when I started Final Trade back in 2021, January 4th of 2021 was the day that I filed the paperwork with the state of Texas to register for an LLC and jump into all of this that has mutated into Final Trade. When I started it back then, I had some ideas for things that I wanted to do and what I wanted to try, and I had no conception that it would turn into what it has. I had no idea that it would be as successful as it has been, that it would be as enjoyable as it has been, and that it would be as rewarding as it has been. And it's interesting because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who works at the same place that I do today, and just talking with him about the direction of our careers and general dissatisfaction with our professional careers, I realized that professionally, I had more authority and more responsibility 8 years ago than I do today. That in the last 8 years, my professional career has gone backwards. And, some of that is regrettable, and some of it is actually kind of nice. In a way, the fact that nobody comes and bothers me to ask for help with their work is kind of nice. I'm on a team with a bunch of guys that up until 6 months ago I had never known before. And so, well, none of them comes and asks me for help with anything because still I'm the newest guy on the team. And that is nice, but it also means that I don't really have a great network of people to go to when I need help with the tasks I'm working on. And so it's kind of a mixed bag. And I had always thought that by this point in my career, I would have been much more successful. I would be at the program manager level, or preferably chief engineer is really what I wanted to become. And those things just never worked out for me. And so I was doing some accounting for Final Trade this past weekend, and I was thinking, how could I come up with some metrics to kind of try to objectively measure how successful the business has been? And so I got on ChatGPT and I started talking with it and asking it questions about different financial metrics and trying to figure it out. And the conclusion I finally came to was one where you measure, essentially it's called internal rate of return. And so you measure all of the cash inputs that you put into your business to fund your business and get it up off the ground and get it running. And then you come up with a way to measure the current value of your business. And so I took a estimate at the actual market value of all the inventory that Final Trade holds, plus cash minus debt, and compared that with the cash inputs I put into the business over time. And when you do that calculation, what it tells you is basically what is the annualized return on each of those cash infusions you gave to the business in order for the business to be worth that value that you calculated today. And what it turns out is the annualized return on cash inputs to Final Trade for each individual cash input from the day each of them came into the business over the last 4 years up until the current value of the business today is 71% annual return. And I thought, okay, it seems like a pretty reasonable number because, you expect businesses to perform better than investments because you're adding labor onto capital investment. Okay. I add labor in the form of running the Patreon, doing YouTube, doing the sealed sales, doing a bunch of other things, affiliate marketing and things like that. And so those things bring in revenue that have no cost of goods sold, except the sealed sales, obviously. And so 71% seemed reasonable, but it also seemed really good. It seemed very satisfying. And I thought, in the last 4 years as a part-time venture, I've managed to annually return 71% on every dollar that I've put into the business over that time. And I thought, man, I really wish I had put a lot more dollars into the business a lot earlier. And I thought, maybe I should just put a ton of money into the business today if I'm seeing those kind of returns. And it's really in stark contrast to my professional career where, I go to the office one day a week and, everyone sits quietly in their cubicle and works alone, but manager wants you to be in the office for some damn reason. And, I work from home the rest of the week. I get my work done and everybody's like, that's great. Here's another task. And yeah, I get a paycheck every Friday and that's about it for the reward. We had this big survey, they'll get like PricewaterhouseCooper to come do a survey and they'll have PwC collect all the results and tabulate them and then anonymize them and send them back to the company. And there were all these questions on it about job satisfaction and things like that. And, what is your primary driver? And I kind of cynically thought, well, I get a check on Friday. The company pays for a bunch of insurance for me. I accumulate vacation days. And I didn't want to put those answers because those are a little too black-pilled even for me. But overall, it's nowhere near where I thought it would be by this point in my life. And it's really disappointing because I've spent 20 years as an engineer. And I'm now at the point in my career where I realize, well, in the aerospace industry, you're most rewarded for longevity at a company. This is not like the tech industry where basically to get promoted, you have to change companies. Tech is like bad in the opposite way, where if you show loyalty to a company and you spend a lot of time learning that company and its idiosyncrasies and its niche and everything, they never reward you with promotions. In aerospace, that's the only way to get rewarded with promotions. And so now I see announcements for people getting promoted who are younger than I am, have less experience than I am in terms of number of years, but also just less experience in terms of actual applicable relevant experiences. But the one thing they do have is many, many, many more years of experience at the company. And, the biggest driver for the people who get the program manager positions and the chief engineer positions is, did you walk in here for the first time at age 19 as a sophomore college intern? And I didn't. I moved around several times in my career, and yeah, I accumulated a lot of great experience that virtually none of my coworkers have. But it's definitely put a ceiling on what I can achieve in my career. And it's very disheartening to have spent 20 years, and for many of those years, I had dreams of succeeding in different ways than what actually happened. And so then one day I started Final Trade, and in 4 years of part-time work, it's returned 71% annualized on every dollar that I've put into it. My goodness. And to think the disparity in the amount of fun that I have doing this, the amount of fun that I have making videos, the amount of fun that I have just in the absolute insanity of the TCG market, the amount of fun that I have talking with my patrons, the amount of fun I have with this product and the inventory and opening cards and expanding my personal collection and playing these games, it's amazing the difference. And I've always thought, well, maybe one day I can open a store or something. Maybe one day I can wind down my professional career. And I think I'm getting closer and closer to that day because I'm really seeing that professionally there's not much left in my engineering career. It's never going to go to the places that I once dreamed it would. And all the while, for the last 4 years, Final Trade has delivered beyond any expectation I could have imagined. So hopefully we're close to something big. Hopefully soon we'll have some big announcements and we can move forward and have a lot more fun than we've been having even these last 4 years. So thanks to all of you who have come along with me for the last 4 years. I continue to feel like I owe all of y'all way more than what I've been able to pay you back. And I hope that given enough time, I can pay you all back the amount that I feel you deserve. So it's been great, and I'm absolutely enjoying it. I'm loving this unbelievably insane bull market right now. And man, am I excited for the future. So hopefully everybody keeps coming along with me, keeps joining in, keeps joining the Patreon, keeps joining the sealed sale, keeps having great discussions with me and everything else. Because, golly, this is and has been rewarding beyond anything I've had in my professional career. And I sit here feeling like I'm still at the beginning of Final Trade. You know, I'm 4 years into this, but I still feel like this is the absolute beginning. And things are still small and tiny and unexciting compared to where they could go, relatively. So I have a lot of dreams for the future, a lot of ideas that I dare not share with people because I sometimes feel like they're silly and that the ideas would be ridiculed, but I keep them in the back of my mind and I keep working towards them every day. So thanks a lot, everybody, for coming along with me. And man, I'm really looking forward to the future, a Final Trade, and everything that has happened and will continue to happen with it. Thanks a lot, guys.